Welcome to Guns, Guns, Gear, and Guns with Gary Gunderson. I am Gary Gunderson. Governor Tim Walz, the would-be vice president, recently participated in a town hall about gun control, and he was in full Fudd mode.
Look, I am a gun owner. I have 4 shotguns, and I have a Springfield 1903 30-06 deer rifle that's there. And what has really added to this is the ability of these cheap weapons that were designed for the battlefield, designed to kill human beings, have made their way into civilian hands.
Funny that you describe it as a Springfield 1903 deer rifle. It would be more accurately described as a human rifle because the Springfield 1903 was literally designed to kill humans for the United States military. You can't say you're against weapons designed to kill people 5 seconds after saying you own a 1903.
Here is a squad firing the caliber 30 rifle, model 1903, known in the service as the Springfield.
Which, of course, is only used to hunt deer and not the dirty Hun.
Well, egg on my face, I stand corrected.
And as you heard Rolf say, I was one of tens of thousands of Minnesotans who got up before the sun and sat in a cold tree stand and partake in a time-honored tradition of deer hunting. And not a single one of them needed an assault weapon or a high-capacity magazine, and not a single one of them had any infringement on their Second Amendment rights.
Well, we've all seen how proficient you are with a firearm, so maybe you should try using one. Probably the safest deer in the state. But, and this should be obvious, the Second Amendment is not about hunting.
So this argument, and it's always something, you can't define what an assault weapon is. We have the right to have these, that they're to be used against an oppressive government or whatever it might be. None of those hold any water.
Yes, it's always something. How dare people try to protect their rights from government overreach by telling you how much of an idiot you are. And you never explained how that tyrannical government argument doesn't hold any water. That was the purpose of the amendment. So why does the explanation about protection from the government not matter? Because we're supposed to just trust you?
Just because you can have one of these things doesn't mean you should. And I think we're trying to make that case. So
the phrase, just because you can doesn't mean you should, is not an argument to restrict constitutional rights. Should has nothing to do with it. It's about whether or not you have the right to do it.
they're designed to do that because they're designed for the battlefield. And we have always had limitations. You can't own a howitzer.
Essentially, all arms were designed for the battlefield or are derived from arms designed for the battlefield. That is the primary factor that has driven development of firearms. You could own a cannon at the time of the founding, so yes, if you want to be consistent, I should be able to drive up to Home Depot and pick up a howitzer.
We're at the ready to get you ready to do your spring. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
As a human being, I am done living like this, where our children have to live in fear and practice gun drills in their schools when we know there's things we can do about it.
I have said this before, but I do not understand this point. No matter what laws you pass, schools will be targeted by violent psychopaths. So yes, training children how to react is good, even while the so-called experts flanking Walz on this panel makes this point by accident.
And the thing that really affects me is how quickly they acted, and they just knew to do it because they trained for it. And that I just find sick.
You find it sick, but that helped save lives, so why would you stop doing it? There will always be threats, but they think the government can literally fix anything.
Freedom, to me, means that you don't need to be afraid of anything. We know, obviously, the right to bear arms is constitutionally protected, but I think the right to send your kid to school and not be afraid that they're not going to come home is kind of an unspoken right. I think it's kind of a right who would have thought that needed to be put in the Constitution?
That's insane. It's literally impossible. Even if the government had all the power and was altruistic, people would still be afraid of things. fear is a part of life.
Parents are getting asked by their kids is, am I safe here? Sometimes we'll go to a new place and they'll say, am I safe here? And to me, freedom would be me being able to say, yes, you are safe here, but I cannot say that truthfully to her, that she's safe.
Based on that logic, you couldn't say it before either, because some unlikely event can always happen no matter where you are. You're more likely to get in a car accident on the way there. This delusional point of view is one of the reasons you have idiots pushing for gun control no matter what, at the expense of everything else, because they are this deluded.
And to stop getting caught up in petty semantics about like what an assault rifle is, and frankly to stop messing around and just do what needs to be done to keep our kids safe. We all love our kids. Let's love them enough to not do this anymore.
You don't want to quibble about what an assault rifle is, you just want to ban them. How can you ban them if you don't define it? People point this out to you because it doesn't make any sense. Well, I want to impose restrictions on this vague term. Well, what do you mean by that? Why are you focusing on semantics?
I invite my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to join us and to find a solution to the problem of gun violence and gun deaths. But I just want to say this to my Republican colleagues. Any conversation about gun violence prevention that does not include guns, I will say to you what Logan Roy said to his children in succession: you are not serious people.
If you agree with strengthening security at schools, why not focus on that first, since it will pass easily? If you do not support any changes that can pass right away by themselves, how are you a serious person? Oh, is it because you're just trying to score political points? Got it.
And I have a whole proposal, and I said I'm willing to shrink it down to the high-capacity magazines, but...
Why, thank you for only wishing to restrict rights a little bit as a compromise. I am much obliged and grateful.
The courts overruled us on binary triggers and ghost guns. You can print a gun in your house now with no serial number on it, and according to the Supreme Court here in Minnesota, you can have that. I'm going to continue doing this until we finally get a vote, and most importantly, until we finally ban these weapons in Minnesota and protect our children.
Sounds like you just want to ban them regardless of what people would want and maybe even what the courts rule. It's so imperative now because tragedy is still on people's minds, so they will react emotionally.
Well, your hobby doesn't supersede our children's right to survive. Your personal freedoms of this, I might like to drive 100 miles an hour, but the law says if you do that, you're putting other people at risk, so we limit that. Firearms have been protected from this. And this idea that you need it for personal safety, that's fine. There are numerous things, but for a home invasion, these are not the things, and not the things to protect your family with.
This is a terrible argument. Going 100 miles per hour through town is an active danger to people in that moment, while someone simply owning a firearm is not. You can say owning them is an accident waiting to happen, but that's not only an argument against guns, that's an argument against cars. With this line of thinking, all cars should be banned because someone can drive 100 miles an hour. A law-abiding gun owner is like a car parked in a garage, not hurting anyone. Because someone can drive recklessly doesn't mean we ban cars.
What would that do to stop your Second Amendment rights to not have a firearm in a crowded Capitol where emotions can get high?
This is specifically in reference to being allowed to carry in the Capitol, but emotions can run high anywhere. In fact, I would say it's better to allow carry in places where emotions can run high because you want to be able to protect yourself from some crazy person who can't control their own emotions.
They have saved lives. The data is there. We can prove that. And I will say the same thing. If we get a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, fewer people will get shot in Minnesota and die. That is simply the way the data is, and that's one that I'm willing to say we need to fight for.
You say that, but if deaths increased and people were less safe statistically, would you change your mind and return these rights you took away, or just say, well, we didn't do enough? We all know the answer. It's the same propaganda. Whenever something is passed, the next thing they say is, this is good progress, but it's not enough.
As a gun violence prevention researcher, I'm well versed in the statistics. A bullet can really do an incredible amount of damage to a small child's body. It's designed to splinter into dozens of twisted shards that could instantly kill a child.
And your credentials as an expert mean nothing because that isn't true. One, they are not designed that way, and two, even if they were, you would be talking about a specific type of ammo and not an assault weapon.
Gun violence is now the leading cause of death for American children and teens. How can we treat this as a public health crisis?
I think this is a perfect question because it depoliticizes it.
This question and statistic is politicized because the implication is that you are referring to minors only, but this includes adults that are 18 and 19, and people don't understand that implication when you say children and teens. It is only the leading cause if you remove infants and include 18 and 19-year-olds, mostly due to gang activity. And the non-politicized way is easy. Just say there are too many child deaths, and I would agree. Playing with statistics to make them the number one cause, just to make a point, means you can't be trusted to argue in good faith.
This is how you have to do it. Little by little by little, person to person, humanize it. Don't demonize it. Don't make it about the gun. We're focusing on children's safety.
This at least is honest. They want to play on your sympathies to get you to support banning guns, manipulate your opponent, and paint them as unaffected by the murder of children to further your agenda.
When the Constitution was written and the amendments were written, we didn't have these weapons of war doing this. And I genuinely think our founding fathers who wrote these would be disgusted that this Second Amendment is being used for this, that is being used to make it so that we cannot ban these guns that are always killing children, that are killing children every single day.
The Founding Fathers would not have approved of many things in the modern era, and the laws currently on the books restricting firearms would be one of them, not complaining about a lack of gun control. They were fully aware of weapons of war and supported their civilian ownership, including cannons and multi-shot firearms.
I respect firearm owners. I respect Second Amendment rights, but over the years, we've conflated these things.
You clearly don't, or this would have been a very short video. That's all for today. Which idiotic comment was your favorite? Leave it in the comments below. If you're still watching, I have an entire playlist of politicians saying dumb things about firearms, so check those out. I also have a Patreon where you can support me and a Discord you can join. Links on the screen. Please like the video, share it with others, subscribe to the channel to get more content like this. Thanks for watching.